When I'm painting in cold temperatures, there's one trick that I use to avoid runs in my clear coat. I'll share that trick with you today and much, much more. Let's get into it. Howdy, howdy everybody. We're back in the garage and today we're gonna be painting this Ford F-150. This morning it's a little bit cooler. It's about 55, 60 degrees. And that gave me an idea. As we come into winter, we're gonna get a lot more colder temperatures. And some of you guys working out of the garage at home are gonna have to deal with the cold temps. So we did some repairs on this tailgate. We had a good sized dent right here that Dare straightened. A couple little scratches here that we repaired and a small ding there that we repaired. We're gonna seal this spot here because we broke through the paint. We also got a rear bumper here that we're replacing. We went ahead and sanded and prepped this out. I'm gonna seal this before we base coat. We'll spray sealer, base coat, and clear coat. First thing we need to do is mix up the sealer we're using today, which happens to be this 2253V. This is a high build primer that can be used as a sealer. You reduce it 4 to 1 to 2 and use it as a urethane sealer. We'll be spraying this job with my new favorite gun, the Porphis 815 with a 1.2 tip. And the clear coat we'll be using today is the Finish One FC710. This is a spot panel clear, so it's a quick drying clear, which also helps in cold temperatures. Great DIY clear coat, has great durability, and sprays out very nice. All right, let's go ahead and mix up our sealer. This is medium activator. Now we're gonna put 2 parts of our reducer in. We want to make sure this is mixed up really well. We want the viscosity to be nice and consistent. It's got to be nice and smooth and consistent. So we got this all masked off. We just ran plastic on it, taped down the edge of the plastic. We cut out the area that we were painting. So we are ready to spray our sealer. Now we need to wash this. I'm gonna wash it with isopropyl alcohol. I keep some of it in this spray can right here. I like to use isopropyl alcohol on this stuff. You could use wax and grease remover. You could spray with a water-based cleaner, like a spray away glass cleaner. Usually I have gloves on, but I took my gloves off because they were ripping. Almost out here. I'm gonna spray some adhesion promoter on this because this is just aftermarket primer on here. It doesn't hurt anything, just a little bit of extra insurance. It's gonna create better adhesion for the sealer to stick to this bumper. Let that dry for a minute, and then we'll spray our sealer on here. The gun we're using today is the PRD 815 with a 1.2 tip. This is my new favorite Porphis gun. They are sending me an 817, which is their newest gun. We'll see how that performs. We're ready to spray some sealer on this bumper cover. We've got our adhesion promoter on it. When you're spraying in cold temperatures, sealer has a tendency, because it's so thin and there's a lot of urethane reducer in it, it has a tendency to fisheye on your first coat. So the first coat of sealer we put on this is gonna be a dust coat. That's gonna create a good base for us to put on a little heavier second coat of sealer. We don't wanna get a bunch of fisheyes in our sealer before we spray our base. I'll control that with the trigger of the gun. Now we're gonna set up our gun like we would base coat. I'm gonna run this at about 16 PSI, right around there. Our fluid volume, we're gonna go 3 turns out from close. So I'm gonna close it all the way, turn it 3 turns out. And then our fan pattern, I'm gonna narrow it back. This has an extremely wide fan pattern. I'm gonna narrow it back about a full turn. Three. There's fully open. About right there. Just not pulling the trigger all the way. You want your sealer to be smooth. We'll let that flash off and we'll put another coat on. Ready for our second coat of sealer. You want your sealer to be smooth as possible, just like your base coat. That's going to help with a nice flat clear coat finish. Let's mix up our base coat. I'm going to cut this in with a different color first because I only have half a pint of this. I think I'm just going to go with this darker gray here. Put our reducer in. We're ready. So we want to let this flash off for about 10 minutes. See how it's still wet? We want it to be all dull like that. Let it flash off for about 10 minutes, then we can apply our base coat. Okay, you can now see it's dry. We're gonna go ahead and spray our first coat of base on it. Like I said, this isn't the right color. This is just a cut-in color. If you're in colder temperatures, a light coat of base to start with. There's nothing wrong with that for the first coat. I don't have to do it here. Again, we're looking for a smooth base coat. We're going to overlap our passes about 70%. Same setup as sealer, same gun settings. You want to have a consistent speed and a consistent distance from the panel. All right, we'll let that flash off and we'll put on another coat. All right, mix it up 2 to 1. All right, I screwed up, guys. Maybe you already noticed this, but this bumper is not supposed to be the primary color. It's supposed to be the accent color, which is the lower gold on this truck, which is AQ. So I went and picked up some paint, AQ. We're gonna paint this bumper the right color. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is I really should have put a clear base coat on this. So if you look right here, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it right there. But right here, there's a little bit of a halo right here. See that? And down here, where the end of the sealer was. If I would have put a clear base coat on this or a color blender before I applied this fine metallic, then that would have helped with this edge. But since I didn't do that, what I need to do, so this doesn't show up in our clear coat, is take a little piece of 600 and I'm just gonna scuff this edge a little bit. Right through here and right through here. That's all it looks like it needs. So I can smooth that area out so those metallics will lay flat and then we'll get a good transition in our blend here. So not too difficult. I'm just going to do a light sand on this edge. Smooth that out just a little bit. I'm not digging into this paint, and it's not going to take much to cover this. We'll tack rag this off so we remove any dust. And then I'll just put some more base on this and we'll be good to go. Let that sit, I'll put one more coat on it and we'll be good to go. All right, it looks good. Put a little more right here, but overall it looks good. A little more out here on the blend. We'll let that flash off. Now we need to tack rag both of these panels down after they cure because we've got two different colors in the air. So we want to make sure we tack rag this tailgate off before we clear coat and make sure all the fumes are gone. Okay, while we're waiting for this to air out, we're gonna mix up some clear coat. We're using the FC710. This is a spot panel clear. It dries pretty quickly, so it's really good for cold temperatures. It's not super cold right now, but I'm gonna give you a little trick when you're spraying in a cold temperature so you don't get runs. Sure that lid's locked on. We're gonna set this air pressure right at 20 PSI. We're gonna open the fluid volume up all the way. So I'm gonna open up the fluid volume, I'll pull the trigger, and then when I feel pressure on that trigger, it's open up all the way. The fan pattern we're gonna leave the same. These tack cloths are sticky, so you wanna make sure you wear gloves. It's just a sticky cloth that's gonna pick up any dust. So any metallic that's settled on these panels, this will wipe it off. Let it air out just a little bit. And then you just basically wad it up like this. I'm gonna use the old cloth for this because we don't wanna use the same cloth for the bumper that we use on the bedside and the tailgate, because we will be transferring metallics that way. When you're spraying in cold temperatures, obviously you want to do everything you can to warm up the panels. So 50, 60 degree temperatures, you can spray in those. You want to be careful not to run it. And one way you can do that is by putting down what they call a tack coat. And basically that's just a light coat of clear that's going to introduce that clear to the surface. So when you go on and put your second coat on, it's not going to run. If I spray a medium or heavy coat right onto a really cold panel, there's much more chance you're going to get a run, you know. So you basically want to just introduce that clear to the surface, and then you can go ahead and put a heavier second coat on. Now I really don't need to do this today, but I just want to show you how it's done. Because it's really not cold enough today. I'm just not going to pull the trigger all the way. I'm going to do kind of like a half pull. Overlapping my passes about 70–80%.
Now when we go and put our second coat on, we'll be able to hit it heavier and we're less likely to get any runs.
And don't worry about a tack coat affecting how that clear coat finish is going to look, because it's really not going to affect it. If you do it correctly, you just do a nice tack coat. You hit it with 2 coats of clear coat like you normally would, and it'll still have a nice slick finish. Now on that tailgate, I didn't put a tack coat on that tailgate because it's really not necessary today. I just wanted to show you on that bedside how we did it.
Here I'm hitting it like I normally would. So I like to spray it how I want it to look. And this gun sprays fantastic. Really slicks it out. I want to have a consistent speed and a consistent distance from the panel. Typically about 5 to 6 inches away. Sometimes I spray a little closer if I want to get more material on the panel.
You can adjust your distance and your speed to change how that clear coat lays on the panel. If I want my clear coat to lay out a little flatter, I'm going to spray it a little closer like this. I can slow down and that'll also have the same effect.
Now I'm slowing down just a little bit for the final coat. Make sure you get a good shot.
All right, let's take a look at finished product here. A little dark in here, but kind of hard to see, but it's got a little texture, just like OEM texture, really. Metallics look fantastic. That all looks good. Little particle of dust there. There are some chips in this bedside. Of course, this was just a courtesy coat where we blended it. But when you're spraying in the cold temperatures, do a tack coat. That'll give you the foundation where you can put it on a little bit heavier the second coat and third coat. Remember, when you're spraying clear coat, the technique that matters is your speed, your distance, your overlap. You want to overlap about 70%. As far as adjusting your gun, your air pressure, your fluid volume, your speed, and your distance all work together to give you that flat clear coat finish. Listen, I hope you found this information helpful. I appreciate each and every one of you watching. We just clicked over 100,000 subscribers, and that's all because of you. I've been making videos for 5 years, a video a week and sometimes more. And the only reason I make videos is because you guys watch them and you enjoy them. So if you enjoy the content, let me know down in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about paint and body repair, be sure to subscribe. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Garage Noise.